Yo, people, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of the Coach's Tactics. We discuss all things of the tactical side of the game we love. And I'm not alone, I'm joined by Mr. Tactical, Tactical, Hardeep, was United fan, here to discuss about Erik 10 excuses out. Uh, but yeah, um, it's it's been an interesting start to the season. Um, but before we go into all of that, have you been?
No, Hannah, I've been really good, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to be part of the show, and it's actually my second time on the streams involved in the fun. But how about yourself?
I've been good. It's been it's been a decent start to the season. For me, of course, not Chelsea wise, but yeah. But, I've been good. And yeah, it's going well. It's going well. From my end. Um, so yeah. Um, with you, everything good with you?
Yeah, everything's really good, thank you as well. But from United's point of view, I mean, to Lewis against Arsenal was just not good enough. However, we're gonna definitely delve into this during the stream.
Yeah, we will. And yeah, South Chelsea fan. Um, yeah, I'm doing good.
I'm really good, thank you.
I'm just getting the lineups quickly ready. Then we'll do go into more of it. Um, of course, there's lots to discuss that doesn't involve tactics about the game, but I'm sure that's a topic for another day. I'm not not now, of course. Let's just say it might turn ugly if we really go on about what should have happened. But it is what it is. Um, so yeah, let me share my screen. And, um, then let's change the setup. But there we go. There we go. So United are in the darker shade of red and also the lighter one. So uh, United basically on the left and also on the right. Um, so United, United of course line up in their usual 4-2-3-1. Ericsson was a bit more advanced, I would say, um, than Casemiro, because Casemiro was there deep. And then also they played Declan Rice alone as the six, and the front three with Martial, Rashford, and who's on the left?
It was
No,
actually Anthony. Anthony, actually.
Rashford, Anthony. Yeah. Um, and then also Saka and Martinelli. So let's get into this. So how do how would you say um when you had the ball, of course, later on in the second half and controlled possession more, um, where I was your shape almost, and who was looking to get the ball?
I think personally, if you look at our shape from defensive line to the midfield to the attack, I think overall we were playing mid box setup. I think overall United were successful in mid box setup rather than being pragmatic, really defensive, very risk averse. I think United at times did take the game to Arsenal from a transition point of view, from a physicality point of view. But overall, when Arsenal won the game, that was due to the energy, the enthusiasm, the structuring how Arteta plays as well. Putting the official issues around the side, I think overall Arsenal definitely deserved it. But from United's tactical point of view, I think Erik definitely got exposed from that point of view. From a technical point of view, we had that physicality midfield with Eriksen and Casemiro as the two partners in the midfield, with Bruno as number 10, and overall the wingers were very direct, very selfless, very selfish at times. But overall, with our striker, don't necessarily get the service. It's about consistency and how we actually create chances. And unfortunately, United didn't showcase that. Only until when Hoyland actually came on, who actually made a huge impact off bench. He should have actually scored that flick, but if we had that accuracy and also provided that better balance, who knows? I think ultimately with United right now, they lack that structure and intensity, and ultimately it's just down to individualism, and we're not a team.
Yeah, yeah, no. But you spoke there about the physicality in midfield. Um, and I want to touch on the midfield battle. So I think coming into this game, we all knew the midfield battle was going to be key. That was probably one of the reasons why Arteta switched back to the back four. Um, of, Let me just sort this thing out. I moved them back up. Um, so it's basically midfield. Of course, Bruno is 10 and Casemiro, um, and then the back four with Osaka, Jesus, and Martinelli, and then these two there, and this was Rice basically. Um, so this is how I saw it, mostly with these two. And I think because Havertz usually came to the left, it allowed Ericsson to come more into midfield, and that's where we saw how good he is in the first half. And again, like United fans keep on going with that he can't last a full 90, and I think we saw that again that time. But I think because Havertz was there, it was tough for at times for Rice when United looked to counter, would pick up the ball from deep and run. Um, of course, he put that ball through for Rashford to go on to score as exceptional goal. Um, but would you agree with me that let's when it was like on paper, it almost looked like this, with Average drifting to the left, giving Exton a bit more space.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Arsenal were definitely probing us throughout the game, and they had the majority of possession. But during the first phase of the first half, we actually had more possession than them, and we dominated in certain transitions. But until that moment when we were in transition, thanks to Ericsson's brilliant technical ability to find Rashford and to score that exceptional goal, we lacked that potent threat in front of goal. And I think with Arsenal, they were more expansive, more aggressive, more eager to actually win the ball in our own possession. And I think with Arsenal, if you look at the shape as well, they were really pressing consistently, and they were really eager to get hold of the ball. And ultimately, with United, the reason why they capitulated is not only just using physicality, but also the mentality in players. They capitulate when we are regressing. For instance, when we could see that Odegaard go defensively, it should have been prevented. If you look at the position of centre backs, Martinez, Lindelof, the fullbacks, Delo, Wan-Bissaka, they could have actually put the body in line and also become much more compact in their shape. And overall, it gave Odegaard that space to score and become really clinical in that aspect of which. And ultimately, Arsenal had a momentum going into the second half, and which they actually allowed to have the consistency in their play, the tempo and possession, the intensity in how they actually create chances, and also be drilled as an attacking unit, especially with likes of Saka, Martinelli, even to a certain extent, Nketiah wasn't really getting a lot of service, but ultimately, United centre backs dealt with him really well. But it's just down to capitulation and also inconsistency.
Yeah. And we will look now more into how United almost lined up um, when you sat back almost against them against um, Arsenal. So let's have a look at that. I think they were a bit deeper. Um, so move let's move them up. Um, these two wide. The um, Let's like that, and then Bruno has the 10, um, and then the back four was there. Now, in the beginning of the match, first few minutes, I saw Zinchenko cut in, but that didn't last long. As I think in the first few 3 minutes, um, when Anthony attacked on the right hand side, Zinchenko had to run from midfield. I think they stopped that idea, and he went to a flat back four, basically. So yeah, this is what it looked like to me when United defended, basically. Um, and if you look at the screen, there shouldn't actually be any holes, and I think United defended well. Of course, that the first goal came. I can't remember. How did the first goal came again?
I think
From
obviously,
Arsenal.
if probably midfield. I'd say maybe from Rice. I think David came from Rice and then changed to Odegaard, who actually scored with
Oh
really
yeah,
really
yeah,
love
yeah.
yeah
Edge of the box. Yeah, now
in the
I
box.
remember. Um, um. So yeah, and of course that was early on, but I think that's only a lapse of concentration. I look. I think if this if United probably had more quality coming on from the bench, you probably would have seen that match out. So it was just the players you bring on didn't bring on that energy you needed. Evans, Maguire, what else did he bring on?
I think
Hoyland,
of Hoyland as
he
well.
brought in
Garnacho as well. Yeah, Garnacho.
Nacho. Yeah, the forward line provided energy, but I think the midfield was already overwhelmed. Um, and we'll speak on Bruno. Don't um, um, let's not forget about Bruno, Mr. Bruno. Again, another big game, another game. He doesn't turn up. Um, so yeah. Um, um, so yeah. But that's that. Um, any anything you'd like me to change on the board to you saw through the game?
I think ultimately, if you look at our shapes, well, in our possession as well, if you look at the centre backs, for instance, they were actually allowing Onana to be part of the build phase, and ultimately, if we had De Gea and co, our build phase wouldn't have changed, considering how we were proactive in possession, and ultimately, I think with the signing of Onana, it actually allows us to become much more comfortable and much more competent in possession. I think with the centre backs, they were very unable to know what they were doing. They were quite erratic in possession, possibly due to lack of security from the midfield, lack of technical security from the attack. And ultimately, I think with the centre backs, they lack that composure and also leadership, and not to mention organisation to be a really, really good partnership. Obviously, losing Varane will be detrimental to our season, despite it being very early stages. But ultimately, with Lindelof and also Martinez, There should definitely be a really, really good centre back pairing for right now. But ultimately, I think Onana he actually allowed us to play a really, really proactive way, and that was actually really, really important throughout the game. But if we had the mentality, such as maybe better quality in the ball, maybe better quality from the bench, I think from a transition point of view, we could have been much more clinical. Barring that offside goal against Arsenal's back line, I think that should have stood. But with Rob personally, in my opinion, if you look at the officiating, which is absolutely inept, absolutely inept to
No,
say the least. I mean, it's fair,
appreciating.
yeah, it's quite controversial, but I think it was personally on side. If you look at Glass with the actual line of the defensive line where Gabriel's on the left hand side, where Ganache was actually on the right. I think ultimately his run was so spot on, and if it weren't actually corrected from that point of view, if the last pressure placed elsewhere, it would have given. But ultimately, I think from a consistency point of view, Arsenal showed an evident style of play which we could manage, and obviously with that atmosphere at the Emirates, that definitely took a turn place, and it's something that was so psychologically come the end of the season.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but but, let's. I think another big thing is at times you didn't see Bruno. I think that's also why Rice had such big impact on the game. He was impressed by Bruno. And I think that's another area United. I know, like Bruno does well for United at times, but I think you need to look to replace him. If I'm going to be honest, from a neutral, but from a opposition perspective, I don't see Bruno as the future Manchester United number 10 that can create goals, get stuck in. I think a player that would have suited you to a T would have been in Kunku. That's at us now. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh yeah, it's fair. I actually agree with you. I think with the number 10 position at United, it's definitely the most focal point under Erik Ten Hag's system. And the thing is, with Ten Hag, he likes his number 10 to be really retiring in possession, really composing the ball. And I think with Bruno, if you look at his game from the start of last season to now, you can see an evolution to how he plays as well. He's not erratic in possession. His decision making can be quite competent at times. And ultimately, he's such a creative machine as well. If you look at his work ethic, his mentality, the leadership, the way he conducts himself on the pitch, and ultimately the consistency to create consistent amount of chances, whether it's via cross, scoring goes, or being really really influential on direct basis play and transition point of view. I think ultimately Bruno he's definitely a vital piece right now, but ultimately I think she should be earmarked as a long term replacement.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, so yeah, um, let's. But yeah, anything else you may want to discuss from a United perspective? Maybe how you attacked or something like that. How you defended the two goals.
I think with from United's point of view, if you look at how we attacked as well, we lack that decision making, that the creativity is really, really limited. If you look at Anthony and Rashford, yes, they might be our best quality wingers from an actual position point of view, but they lack that consistency to create chances, to be really, really selfless in possession, and also I think with their work ethic. If you both look at Rashford's point of view, he doesn't track back a lot in comparison to Anthony. Anthony, from work ethic point of view, it's a tremendous piece to Ten Hag system
Couple
as
of things
well. I
my
think
side. I
that's
don't
really really
think
crucial.
you should have released B
Oh,
group
what was
the
that?
other groups today. I think you should have done Group B tomorrow. I think you should have staggered it. And I think I forgot to do the video.
Yeah, sorry, sorry.
Oh, that's all
Yeah,
right.
no. Uh, so yeah, um, I think one thing I might want to add is, like you mentioned, your wingers. I think Anthony for me, just from I know he didn't score assists, but just from a work rate, right? Or almost what he did basically. I, Performance wise, he was excellent for me. Best community I've seen. Um, and he likes to play against Arsenal. So
Yes, actually, that's
Rashford, um, Rashford again. I saw your Twitter post you posted. I I don't think he is again your future. Like he's good for now, but you need to be looking at long term replacements for these guys. Um, but the biggest thing is your club needs to sell them. And we all know United aren't good at selling. That's one thing you guys have in common with Arsenal, is that you can't sell. Um, but Wayland, for me, yeah, the brilliant cameo. He kept Gabriel and Saliba on their toes. I think one thing you can definitely use with Wayland is that speed that you have lacked with Martial, and even Rashford as the
striker.
striker. Yeah, I think his speed will definitely help. But Hardy, big question.
Mm.
Even if United fix their whole midfield, the whole attack, the whole defense, who have the dream lineup, is counter attack your United style of football, or do we need to give Erik ten Hag more time to produce his style of play?
I think ultimately it has to be the second option, given Erik to Nog to actually build a style of play. Of course, he's been here for around over a season, so but ultimately the profile players we have right now are up to the standards. Well, of course, you can actually argue that Martinez, Onana, even Anthony, possibly Ericsson actually fit the mode. Not to mention Mount as well, who is currently injured right now, but we currently lack a physicality in midfield. I remember I think it make a really huge difference to how we actually progress in our possession as well. And that defensive security and technical security is Casemiro. I think with what we lack right now is stability and also if you look at it from a consistency point of view, the consistency to create chances, consistency to score goals, and ultimately this is down to a mentality issue with the players. Are they up to standard to actually fit into the system? Not necessarily, but they need to be coached to do that. However, they have many flaws, such as maybe lack of ball retention, lack of athleticism, lack of desire to win. From a psychological point of view, the mentality to win as well. If you look at it from a worker point of view, do they actually produce enough energy and also the efficiency and how they should be contributive in the defensive setup? Not to mention keeping organised in shape. I think ultimately, if United are going to progress under Erik ten Hag, I think within next season, you can see definitely a visible identity.
So you've talked about Harrison out there. So you say it's definitely not counter attacking, it will change.
No, I don't think it's counter attacking. It's transitional
Don't think
football.
so.
I think it's transitional football. Transitional football.
But what's the difference? What's the difference? It's the
Counter-attacking
same thing.
football is yeah, exactly. It is actually. I mean, if you look at it from a counter-attacking point of view, it's when you actually sit back and then hit teams on break. Actually, be reactive to the
But
opposition.
yeah, I get what you mean. True. Do you think that will change if you go further on the Ten Hag? Like to more possession based, almost like Pep?
I wouldn't say it's similar to Pep. I'd say it's similar to Klopp. You know, if you look at it from a philosophical point of view as well, I think Erik ten Hag's style play in comparison to Jurgen Klopp's style play, there's so much resemblance if you look at the principles play. If you look at it from a build-up point of view, the way their midfield was structured in midfield three, whether that's in possession, out possession, the way they press, the way they're organised, the way they actually play a mid-block formation. I wouldn't actually regard it as a counter-attacking system. it'll definitely be transitional more when you're on the front foot. Some aspects of when you're actually controlling possession, controlling tempo of the game, overloading teams, and also probing them when they're actually in their own defence box. I think with United, that aggression, I think with the personality we have right now, and certainly they have that. So with the better personality in terms of quality and also consistency we have, not to mention coupled with right mentality, I think more likely we'll see an evolution and progression in Erik Ten Hag's style play. So I'll definitely compare him to Jurgen Klopp, not necessarily to Pep Guardiola. But there are some similarities, of course, but they're
Yeah,
quite not accurate.
yeah. I think Klopp definitely Klopp and him similar. High pace in midfield, get sacking. But that's a big thing. So yeah, but transitional football. Will it stay? Will it go with Ericsson? We will see what happens. But yeah. Um. I don't know. Let's quickly just touch on a few of the refereeing decisions. You can just go there. Then I will get the Chelsea game.
Oh, go.
So, so yeah.
Let me guess. The
Um.
first one's the penalty appeal on Holland.
Uh, you go ahead. Explain why it was a penalty.
Firstly, it was actually out of play as well. If you look at the way Gabriel actually bullied Holland, definitely grabbing massive. It was actually a rugby game between the England national team and also the New Zealand national team as well. If you look at it from a physicality point of view, he continually puts Holland on the ground, and I think no officials didn't even initiate that. I think with VAR, it should have been monitored correctly straight away, and ultimately, it's just down to the competence of refereeing yet again. We are so corrupted when it comes to Premier League football and also officiating. We just lack competence in officiating. Of course, we lack the consistency, but I think competence in the specialism refereeing is an issue. I think from a rival point of view, if you look at the Chelsea games, for instance, there were quite a few times where you should have got stonewall penalties as well, which were on the review. Ultimately, it's definitely blatant, clear obvious errors, and also during that season as well, you definitely had a lot of offences which weren't in your favour. So ultimately, I think with the Premier League right now, their main goal is actually improving officiating. Otherwise, it'll become much more corrupted and rigged.
Yeah. Um. Definitely. Um. Yeah. When I first saw it, I didn't think it was a penalty. But the more I look at it, I see it as a penalty. Um. And of course, Ganache's offside. If that's offside, then I don't know what's 1 plus 1 really. If that's offside, for me that's straight in line. Um, but yeah, what can we say?
Hmm.
Um, that's that's how they do this. I'm just quickly doing
So, Hannah, I've
something
actually got a
else.
question for you. I've actually got a question for you. So, obviously, with the Hoyland penalty appeal, do you think it was a penalty in your opinion, considering it's actually out of base?
Um, look, I think it. Mm, like I said, when I first saw it, I didn't think much of the appeal. But the more I see it, I think it probably should have been a penalty. Um, but it's a 50-50 one for me. Um, look, I think if it wasn't on the counter and it was just a normal attack, then probably because look, if somebody does that when you are in the ascendancy, it's probably a penalty. The ref has more time to think. Um, so yeah, probably I think VAR needed to come in that situation. VAR definitely needed to come in and rectify the referee's mistake. Okay. So yeah, Heinepen, be up yourself. Yeah, Kai Everett again. poor game from him. But we'll quickly touch on the Chelsea game before Deep needs to go. Um, Now you will see it's a back four. It's back four slash back three. Benjamin Chilwell, of course, starting left winger for Chelsea. Um, and then of course Nicholas Jackson, and on the right it was Sterling. Um, Enzo in the 10, Galga and Caicedo deeper, but Galga and Enzo switching basically. Levi Colwill as the left back, which is very interesting to see. Um, and then Thiago Silva and the Sassy with Malo Gusto as right wing back and Robert Sanchez. Um, Now, first on the goal, I think it's. I think I said it's at fault, definitely, but also Robert Sanchez. How you don't save it, because that ball took ages to get to him. But yeah. Um, so yeah. Um, Now look. Again, force it back. I don't know why we needed to play three defenders. In a back four. And Liverpool as left back. I don't know why he plays it. For me, after the international break, stick to left back, left back for Chilwell. Why is he doing it? I think there's multiple reasons. It might be to fit in Chilwell in into the team. It might be to fit Liverpool into the team. I don't think it is to fit Thiago Silva into the game. I think Thiago Silva is a professional. He will be happy to just drop him, or rest him, or it could be a thing that he doesn't trust Liverpool and the Sassy, or it doesn't. Why Chilwell as at left wing is because he doesn't trust Mudri. Um, so it's a multitude of reasons for me. Um, so yeah. Um, but any questions from you from your perspective?
So obviously, from a style play point of view, do you see any difference from Pochettino's point of view, if you look from a tactical point of view, to maybe last season on the Grand Potter? Do you see any similarities?
Similarities. I think the only similarities is defensive. How defensive Poch is at the moment. With the three centre backs, Liverpool as left back. I think that's the only similarities. Because we saw under Potter, we go very defensive against them. And Lampard beat Bournemouth away. So if Poch can't do it, then serious questions needs to be asked. Uh, for me, I think it's switches, of course, of Chilwell. Um, but Chilwell was definitely left wing. He wasn't left back. I think we can get that right. So yeah. Um, um, from Nottingham Forest perspective, look, I think they did really well. They sat back. We couldn't break them down. People going at Nicholas Jackson again. I think he missed that opportunity. He should have scored. I'm not defending him on that. He does not. When he had clear cut opportunities, and I think again Nkunku is the main reason we're not flowing at this moment. Um, and Reece James Malo Gusto had a great game against Luton, but that's Luton. This game, struggling to settle into the Premier League. I'm not a big fan of him right now. Potts at this moment is his own enemy. When things are not going your way, the best advice is to go back to basics, and the basics is back four with a traditional left back and not a centre back there. So yeah, but look, I think we would do so better if Joe was left wing. You've had a natural left winger, they Madueke or Mudrik. Like they can sort them out. And the big thing is it's so contrast to preseason because at in preseason our right hand side was dead and our left hand side was cooking. Um, what Mudrik and Jackson link it up. Um, Now it's a polar opposite. It's our right hand side that's cooking. So yeah. And any questions you have?
So obviously, from Chelsea point of view, do you think Nicholas Jackson is definitely the way forward from a striker point of view, or do you need another long term striker?
I think it can be. Um, I think he can be a support striker. I think again I'm going to shout out manknowsfootbal Guni that said this from the start, and we're seeing it now. He he can't start. He can't back them on his own. He needs someone with him. I think that's why Nkunku was so valuable to this team because Nkunku would help him with goals. I think we maybe need to. I want to see maybe more in the 10 or play two play him on the left, but let him cut in more. Um, and then and Brocha up top. I would love to see something like that. But yeah, look, we, it was it was madness what we did against Forest. Look, again, it's not really anything tactical. I can look at and point out. That was it's more about the team lineup and the personnel, really. Um, so yeah. Any last questions or thoughts?
No, that's it really. I mean, and ultimately, you got another question. So, with regards to Pochettino, do you see him getting sacked or not?
I think if he doesn't, if results turn sour, I think us as a fan base, we will turn really quick on him. Um, on Pochettino, of course, at first link, that's a big thing. Um, so if the results continue, we draw or lose to Bournemouth, because we've got an easy run till October, November is difficult. We've got Brentford, Brighton, City, Newcastle. I think we've got also somewhere in there. Um, so we have got a tough October and November. So it's got an easy run. Then it's time to fix up.
Mm.
And if it doesn't, who knows? Who knows? He might be sacked. But yeah, I'm going to let us wrap it up here. Thank you for joining, Hardeep. As always, enjoying enjoyed it. So yeah, shout out. Where can people find you on Instagram and Twitter?
Well, guys, you know where to find me. HC United Stan on Instagram. If you do want to follow me personally on Instagram, it's HS7. Both accounts are actually lowercase, of course. If you do want to follow me on Twitter nonetheless, it's hashtag RomeFC, all lowercase as well. Talk about all things football from a tactical point of view, from a technical point of view, United news regarding the players, the ownership situation, the sale, and ultimately the political issues in football. And also, to add, things out of football as well. So yes, you can actually see me talking about the political issues in England, the UK, or even worldwide, or possibly just about movies. So that's where you can find me, guys. And big up to Hanno. Thank you for inviting me on.
No problem. No, definitely go follow him. Good United account. And yeah, of course, for me, check out. I posted a few shorts today, so would appreciate if you guys can check them out. So yeah, and then also on Instagram and TikTok, check them out. Of course, my TikTok Coach Corner One, Twitter _708303030, and then Instagram Hannah_Coach_Corner. So yeah, be up yourselves, people. See you in a bit.